back to the channel, y'all. What is good? Reese the Sideliner as always. Unfortunately, I couldn't come to y'all with this video last night. Hella tired, bro. I'm gonna just tell you. Once 9 o'clock hit, I was out of it, but I stayed up to watch a little bit of that first quarter of the Thunder game, but by the time 10 o'clock rolled around, I was out like a light. But we did watch a couple of the other games yesterday, starting off with the Lakers. Oh my God, I did not just do that. Oh my God. The Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks. As we all know, Kawhi Leonard missed game 1, and it was, anticipated that God damn, what is going on? That Paul George would have to have this, outstanding performance, 30 plus points for them to even have a chance to win this game against Luka and Kyrie without Kawhi Leonard. That was, however, not the case whatsoever. This was the most surprising ass whooping that I've seen the Clippers hand out this season by far. Without Kawhi, they led 16-9 through the first 5 minutes of the game. They led by as much as 12 points in the first quarter. 26 was the highest lead for the first half. 29 was the highest lead for the game. They truly dominated Dallas on both ends of the floor. Zubac down low in the post. That first quarter, he had 8 points, 2 rebounds, and assists, 4 or 5 from the field. He was really punishing Dallas, when they were giving him mismatch opportunities. 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 block in the first half. He had the first flagrant foul assessed of the postseason. Some kind of elbow tie-up thing with Maxi Kleber. It is what it is. He's just trying to be that enforcer for them down low. And he finished the game off with 20 points, 15 rebounds, giving the Mavericks hell in the post. He was very, very aggressive for a guy that's really not known to... He had 2 points less than Paul George. Let's just put it that way. Paul George ended with 22. Zubac ended with 20. A lot of that was due to James Harden finding him on, easy dump-offs, him cleaning up the offensive glass and getting second chance points. Zubac really did his thing yesterday. And then I just mentioned James Harden, the guy that was had the biggest impact on this game, in my opinion, in that first half. Played a really great first quarter. He was moving like I haven't seen him move since he was in, what team was that? Brooklyn. When he was in Brooklyn, he was playing very solidly alongside Kevin Durant. He really had an extra pep in his step on the defensive side as well. 11 points, 3 assists, a rebound and 2 blocks on 4 or 5 shooting in that first quarter. Had a hell of a performance. Then he provided a little bit more scoring in that second quarter. Finished the half off with 20 points. He had not scored 20 points against the Dallas Mavericks they played 3 times. He had not scored over 20 points or even close to 20 points in any of their games that they had played in the regular season. He did that in the first half last night. He was providing exactly what the Clippers needed for them without Kawhi Leonard, especially on the offensive end. In the playoffs, we know James Harden is known to disappear a lot. He had his best half of probably any postseason that we've seen in the last 3 years of James Harden. So when the team needed him the most, when it really mattered, and he was entrusted to lead them, he did exactly that. Like I said, 20 points in the first half on 60% shooting, 4 of 6 from deep. That was the biggest thing. He was really lighting them up from downtown. Just 8 points in the second quarter. In the second half, but he was the key factor for the Clippers in that win. Like I said, Paul George, he only finished with 22 points in this game when a lot of people anticipated he would have a really, really solid game, having to go off for 30 or more points to match Luka and Kyrie's scoring output. For the majority of that first half, though, the Clippers were not even being able to be touched by the Mavericks, bro. It was like 60-something to 30. The Dallas Mavericks only scored 30 points in the first half. So the defense and the offense for the Los Angeles Clippers was really rolling. Paul George was not a part of that in the first half, though. He picked up 2 fouls in that first quarter. He had to sit a while, but with the team was playing so well without him that it was like he wasn't really needed. Like I said, they had a huge 26-point lead in that first half. That was the largest lead of the first half, 29 being the largest of the game. He did shoot just 2 of 7 in the first half, had 5 points, 4 boards, dished out a couple dimes in the steal. Like I said, otherwise unneeded for the Clippers. 22 points for the game on 20 shots. Not the greatest of performances, but they got a solid win nonetheless without him having to perform in that way. So a lot of that can be attributed to the Dallas Mavericks only scoring 8 points in the second quarter, or you could just attribute it to the Clippers playing a really solid game all around. Either way, both things are true, but it's just whatever one you want to give more praise to. You know, Russell Westbrook had a hell of a first half off the bench. He had 10 of their 14 first half bench points, 3 rebounds and assists, and 2 steals on 67% shooting. He really made a difference out there alongside James Harden, giving them energy and life when they needed to continue to bury the Dallas Mavericks. He hit a corner 3 to start himself off in the game. You know, you give Russ a 3-pointer, he's going to take it. If he makes it though, then you really just gave him confidence, and that's exactly what that did. Once he hit that 3, he goes on the defensive end. He hustles, of course. A few minutes later, he gets a backdoor lob from James Harden, and then you knew his confidence was high because he had another opportunity for a 3 in the other corner where he caught the ball. The defender is literally staring him in his face, and he's staring back at him, and he waits and just shoots the ball over him for a contested 3, albeit it was a miss. That just let me know that his confidence was riding super high in that first half. He ended up with 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals on 5 of 8 shooting, but his impact was nonetheless really, really great in this one. And then Terrence Mann, probably the most impressive defensive player in this whole equation when you consider how well he played Luka Doncic, especially in that first half. His long arms and his ability to navigate through screens really made it tough for Luka. He was getting a body up into him, contesting almost every shot that he took, and making it hard for him to get to those shots as well. He wasn't supplying much offense in this one, but that's not what they pay him for. In the end, he did, however, score 13 points and grab 9 rebounds, but his defense was really, really impressive on Luka Doncic. Switching it over to the Dallas Mavericks, Daniel Gafford, he picked up 2 quick fouls in 3 minutes, got back in the game in the second quarter, played just another 3 or so minutes and got an injury. So he wasn't really a factor at all in this game. He played just 14 minutes. They had to use Derek Lively a lot, and with Gafford down in that second quarter, that's when they really felt it. They only scored 8 points. Not saying that Gafford was just demanding the ball and being this offensive threat, but rebounding and defense is where they really could have used Gaff in that second quarter, where they only had 8 points. They looked really bad, really, really bad. Very little ball movement that first quarter led for them. Shooting contested jumpers with the shot clock expiring a couple times. They just weren't able to put up points for majority of the first half. Went without a field goal in the first 3.5 minutes of the second. They scored just 6 points through the next 9 minutes, and like I said, outscored 22-8 on 2 of 18 from the field, 0 of 8 from 3, along with 4 turnovers, 30 points total for that first half. Terrible game. It was looking like this game was, they did still run away with it. Dallas was able to somehow get the lead to, I think, 15. They cut a 29-point deficit to 15 after having a solid start to that second half, the third quarter specifically, though, 34 points scored, but the Clippers scored 31 points of their own, so they didn't really cut into the lead up until the fourth quarter, where they were able to make a run, cut the deficit to 15, but it just wasn't enough with how much of a lead the Clippers had already had. They really had to fight tooth and nail to really get back into it. LA had some stretches on offense late in that second half where they weren't able to score, and the Dallas defense was looking very good and it was getting stops. But eventually those shots were going to fall for the Clippers, and that's what they did, and they were able to pull this one off. Moving on over to Luka Doncic, though. That first quarter, it was okay. 11 points, 4 rebounds, 4 of 8 from the field, but they were throwing numerous defenders at him. Like I said, Terrence Mann did a very good job on him, making it challenging for him to get open looks. He took way too many step backs, in my opinion, in that first quarter. I hate how many step back jumpers Luka takes, and especially the fact that it's so slow and it always looks contested. I don't like that style of play. It works for him sometimes, but in this one, it really did not, do a thing for them. He didn't register a single point in that second quarter, which really hurt them. He was smothered on the defensive end. They really did not give him any breathing room whatsoever. He had a far better performance in that second half, 22 points, playing with much more intensity, but like I said, they dug themselves so deep in a hole that when it was time to, pull themselves out of it, more dirt just got thrown on top of them. So, you know, you struggle to start off the game. You can find your rhythm throughout the game and sometimes, claw back into it. But being down 29, 26 in the first half, 29 at the most, you only score 30 in a half, that's just not going to cut it, bro. That's just not going to cut it. And then his counterpart in Kyrie Irving, 0 of 3 for the first quarter, just 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, only 1 made field goal on 6 attempts in the first half. He had 6 points. Had an even harder time than Luka getting it going in that first half. But he scored 17 straight points alongside of Luka Doncic at a point in that third quarter to really leave their mark on the game, make it competitive somewhat. He had 20 points in that third of his own, finished the game with 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 10 of 18 from the field, got back to his normal self after an abysmal first half shooting, but they got to go to the drawing board, man, because nobody else really was there for them. PJ Washington had the best other performance outside of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and he shot 28% from 3. 11.7 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block for the game. That was not a major impact, but it was the most impactful person outside of Luka and Kyrie Irving. So that's just not going to get it done, man. There was a game I missed yesterday. Let me see. Goddamn. I'm sorry. Yeah, Miami versus Boston. I was at work when the game kicked off. Once I got home, they were down almost 30, I want to say. So I didn't even tune into that game. I'm going to just keep it real with you. I didn't watch a single second of that game. I didn't even want to. I kind of knew how it was going to go without Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo did have 24 points in this one, so a much better offensive outing for him. But the second highest scorer, I think, was Haywood Highsmith. So, yeah, we pretty much knew how this series was even going to go. So, I'll definitely tune into the next one. Life, can't watch every game, but they definitely got to figure something out with no Jimmy Butler. Boston is just ridiculous, man. They're dominant, and it's going to be hard to beat that team in a 7-game series. So, safe to say this one will be over in 4. I'll have to go back and watch and see what Miami did on defense to see how they can kind of, change up some strategies just a little bit, but it might be a sweep, and if we're being completely real. If Jimmy Butler was there, they could have won a game potentially, maybe even 2. But with no Butler, there's no chance for them, bro. I'm gonna just keep it real. And then the Milwaukee-Indiana game, the next game of the night, I ended up missing the entire first half. Well, essentially the entire first half, which sucks because Damian Lillard had a hell of a performance, bro. He had a hell of a performance. Dame time was alive and real, bro. 35 points on 6 made threes, 58% from the field on 19 shots. Whenever Damian Lillard scores over 25 points, the team has been 29-7. If he scores over 30, they're 17-3. 40 or more, they're 3-0. If he scores less than 25, though, this is essentially a 500 team, 19-18 record. So it's safe to say when Damian Lillard is in his bag and really scoring the basketball is when his team is able to go out there and win ball games. Albeit no Giannis in this one, so he was able to just do Portland Damian Lillard shit. When it comes to this playoffs, we know how Damian Lillard gets, rhyming accidentally. But he has to be able to be consistent in this role, even when Giannis comes back. Keep that aggression up. Don't just, because Giannis is there and he's ball dominant, he needs to get the ball in transition and run and go. Get Dame the ball so he can set shit up. This is not the regular season. He needs to set up that offense and run through him through this playoffs. If you don't know that, Doc Rivers, your ass need to get up out of that seat. For real. He had 29 points at one point, obviously in the first half, that matched the Indiana Pacers. They also, alongside of the Dallas Mavericks, had a shitty first half performance. A little bit better than the Mavericks, though. I want to say they scored 41, 42 points. This was definitely an inferno of a half for Damian Lillard. The best performance in the playoffs that we've seen thus far, and it was just in that one half. He went scoreless for the rest of the game, though. He was held scoreless the rest of the game. And Nembhard, Nesmith, all these guys really locked in on him defensively, made it tough for him to get shots going, shots falling. He was forcing a bit. I will say he was forcing the issue just a bit. But he has the most 4-point plays that I've seen in the past decade. He was able to get one of those to end the first half, honestly. And it was whenever he goes up and he gets fouled on these 3-point attempts, he's in so much control of his release. He knew that one was going in before it went in. So I'm thinking Dame is about to go off for 50 when we get to the second half. He's about to, just rip them to shreds completely again. Like I said, they locked in on him defensively, made other guys beat them, and that's exactly what they did. He was unable to score, like I said, but thankfully for him, his teammates stepped up and scored their own points individually. Chris Middleton, like I said, I was in and out of this game. I'm going to be real, because I was supposed to go hoop last night. That kind of fell through because we ended up getting a new pet. So we were out shopping and things of that nature. So I missed a lot of this game. But Chris Middleton did have a solid performance in the first half. He had 8.7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Finished the game off with 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 of 14 from the field. A really, really solid performance. And yes, it was 69-42 at halftime. So they did have a 12-point better performance than Dallas, but they just that really came in the last 2 minutes. They had, like I said, at one point Damian Lillard had 29 matching them. So the last 2 minutes is really where they scored, 13 points to really make it a little bit more respectable, but they were getting their ass ran up and down the court. Pascal Siakam over for the Indiana Pacers side he was the only reason that the Pacers had any chance to make this game a game for the entire game. But in the first half specifically, he had 19 points. He provided very nearly half of their points. They scored 42. Had he scored another basket within that 42, he would have had 21, so that's half of their points. His teammates just weren't able to catch rhythm in that first half. He scored 8 points in the third quarter. He ended up the game with a game high of 36 points. Also 13 rebounds along with that, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks on 15 of 25 from the field. So all around a great game for Pascal Siakam. This is why they went out there and got him. A guy that's seasoned in the playoffs. He's been in an NBA championship run and won. So he knows what it takes to really go out there and lay it all on the line. Regardless of what defense you see, you got to go get yours. You got to be the same player. And guys like Tyrese Halliburton was not performing the same. He has not performed the same, honestly, since All-Star break. We know that. But it's just, you have to rise to the occasion. You have to rise to the occasion when it's playoff time. You have to. It's a must. It's a must. 7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists in the first half on 3 or 4 shooting. He shot just 3 shots for the rest of the game. Finished the game with 9 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. He wasn't even able to set his teammates up like he typically can. Yeah, 8 assists is very close to his average of 11. But the impact, it felt different. They're not running in transition as well as they were in the regular season. He's not running as fast or as well as he was in regular season. The ball's not swinging enough how it was when they were the most dominant, electric, fastest playing offense in the league. That's how they were able to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. You can't go out there and lose to the Bucks in this fashion without Giannis Antetokounmpo. It just can't happen. You know damn well that the Bucks can't guard anything, especially on the perimeter. Why not attack and why not just force the issue? You only shot 7 times. Nobody's going to bat an eye if you shoot 7 more shots. You got to be aggressive. You have to be aggressive. Otherwise, you're going to bury yourself. And then moving on to the final game of the night, like I said, I fell asleep during this one. I was mad tired. I was falling asleep in the first quarter. Disappointed that I could not finish the game last night and bring y'all this video last night, but we are here now. And, thankful to God that we are here today. OKC versus New Orleans, man. This series is going to be exciting as hell, bro. Oh my God. Not only, I'm gonna be real though. I am nervous. The fact that the Pelicans lost by just 2 points on the night that Brandon Ingram shot 5 of 17 from the floor, in a game that Zion Williamson was in street clothes on the bench, they lost by just 2 points. I'm so serious, bro, when I say I am petrified of what's to come in this series. Because yes, I said it in an episode on the Sideline Perspective, or maybe just in a video, I don't really have a lot of playoff success expectations set on the Thunder. Just because we are such a young team. I know that I've used that defense in the opposite way, like, yeah, youth doesn't matter, experience, whatever. I am nervous because there's just something that tells me this series could go either way, bro, because I don't have these high expectations on them, but if we lose in the first round, that's still embarrassing. We're still the 1 seed losing to an 8 seed, albeit they're not a real 8 seed. They're like a 5-6 seed. They just fell in the standings at the end of the season. That's nerve-wracking, bro. And to do it without Zion at all, and then Brandon Ingram struggling the way he did. Even CJ had a bit of a struggle game. That is something to really pay attention to, bro. I hope all Thunder fans feel the same way. Don't think that just because we won that game that it's a shoe-in the rest of the series. It's not. It's not. I knew this would be a dogfight. I definitely did, but I did not know it would be this close. Neither team was even able to crack 100 points. Chet began the game with an outstanding defensive play, getting a block on Herb Jones on a fast break, then gets repaid for it a few seconds later, hitting that open three to get the game kicked off with some points. He really had the crowd rocking. He nearly threw down an alley-oop lob just a minute or so later, but he couldn't handle the ball in the air and missed a shot. He got a few other good looks in that first quarter, but was really he was missing. He hit just that 1-3 to begin the game in the first quarter. 1 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. I felt like he shot way too many shots. I'm gonna keep it 100% with you. Chet shot way too many shots in the first half, especially the first quarter. Yeah, he was open for a majority of them. Some of them were contested at the rim. He got way too many shot attempts in the first quarter when there was just nothing happening for either team on the offensive end. It was 17-17 through 12 minutes of play. That's the time where you put the ball in your best scorer's hand and tell him to go in attack. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, albeit he had Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Alvarado, all these different bodies thrown at him. Excuse me. All these different bodies thrown at him. Giving him different looks on defense, different kind of pressure, different wingspans and things of that nature, different IQs of how to play defense. You still got it, like I said about Halliburton, you got to sometimes force the issue. And he did, he did eventually start, picking it up. Had 8 points in the first quarter, not being overly aggressive, but like I said, not being nearly aggressive enough, allowing Chet to take too many shots. All 4 of the baskets that he did score, however, in that first quarter were very, very easy baskets. Nothing was forced up until we got to that second and third. He wanted to start forcing the mid-range shot, trying to draw fouls. He got away with a couple of late whistles that, I was just like, I don't like late whistles for anybody, but especially when it comes to Shai, when people say he's a foul baiting merchant and things like that. I can see it in a way, but it's the same thing that LeBron does as far as, I can't even compare LeBron. Let me shut up. Where was I? Yeah, Chet. I was talking about Shai, but Chet. His defense was a force all game long. He finished the game with 5 blocks in his playoff debut, really imposing his will on any defender that drove and attempted a shot at the rim. He ended the game with 15 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal to go along with that 5 blocks. But he got to stop. He can't take that many shots in that game, especially not that many threes. He was a plus 3-point shooter throughout the regular season, but this is the playoffs. Obviously, we see that lights sometimes are too bright. That could have been the case in this one being his playoff debut with the crowd rocking the way they were. Just the pressure, him having to guard Valanciunas for a 7-game series, who we'll get to, but dominated him on the glass for a majority of this game. It's going to be tough for us, man. I think at some point, Jalen Williams might get a start alongside of Chet at the 4 and have maybe Josh Giddey come off the bench for us, who was just a no-show in this one. Dude literally was out there to get cardio. He had 2 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on 1 of 6 shots. That's not going to cut it. We knew Josh Giddey was not a productive piece for us come this playoffs. He did have a great back end of that season, the last month or so of the season, as far as scoring and shooting goes. But we knew he would be a non-factor, especially against a team like the Pelicans, who have defenders that can absolutely just lock him down completely, because his game is really basic, if we're being real. Getting back to Shea though, once that second and third quarter came around, the shot selection was very questionable, but he regained his composure throughout, taking advantage of the mismatch on CJ, getting a couple quick easy baskets on him. 19 points, 7 to 13 from the field heading into the final period. And then once we got there, he was a smooth operator per usual, scored 9 points for the quarter, ended up with 28. Just, showing a lot more poise under the pressure of the defenders, and getting shots up over players. Hit a big time and one over CJ from the mid-range. Really hit some of the more important shots for us in the game. And then J-Dub, he got it going a little bit in that second quarter after a completely quiet first. I think he only scored one basket. He had 9 points in the half. He was trying to play his normal game, get downhill, attack, or pull up for the 15-foot midi. But the defenders, man, they got some defenders on this Pelicans team, bro. They were really, poking the ball out, stripping them, making it hard for him to even gather. So, for the most part, he couldn't really be his normal self in that first half as far as scoring goes. But all things considered, when it was all said and done, he had a very solid game. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals on 8 of 18 shooting. On the defensive end, he really made it tough for CJ, who shot 9 of 22 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3. That's just, very, very good two-way basketball for a second-year player in his first playoff series on one of the more decorated seasoned playoff players in CJ McCollum, who we know can get busy and boogie down whenever he needs to. Like I said, Giddey was just out there getting cardio. He was a +7 in the box score when it was all said and done, but we need more. And then Lu Dort, he wasn't a plus for us on the offensive end as far as scoring goes. He had just 6 points, 4 rebounds, and assists for the game. But he was a deterrent on the other side of the ball, playing very, very stellar defense on Brandon Ingram, boxing him up the entire game, making it impossible for him to get going, catch any kind of rhythm. That's exactly what we expected from Lu Dort. We don't really care, the kickouts for 3, we need you to hit them when you're open. Even the contested one here and there, we need you to hit them. But the defense is really, really, really the most important thing of Lu Dort in this series, being able to contain Brandon Ingram. It was a highly competitive first quarter. Both teams, like I said, were playing very fast, 17 apiece. But the lack of three-point shooting really was a determining factor of why this game was so close. They were a combined 2 of 17 from downtown in that first quarter. The game ended up tied at halftime. It was a very neck-and-neck game, completely neck-and-neck the entire game. No team had a lead larger than 9 points. It was down to the wire the entire game. Just from a competitive aspect, this was probably the best game that we've seen of the postseason thus far. But an ultimate factor of the Thunder winning this game was them winning in bench points, 24-18 to the Pelicans. And yeah, that was really, really a really solid win for us, all things considered. And moving over to the Pelicans, I said Brandon Ingram was really, really struggling for this game. He finished with just 12 points on 5 of 17 shooting. But I'm not convinced that can happen more than probably just one time in this series. Brandon Ingram is a dude that he is a tough shot taker, but also a tough shot maker. And the Pelicans just can't afford for him to not be able to show up without Zion, CJ struggling. And I don't think OKC can withstand to do that numerous more times. We do have bodies that we could throw at him and put on him. J-Dub can get switched on him and play solid defense. Shea as well. If he gets matched up with Chet, that's an easy block in most cases. And then, like we said, Lu Dort played a hell of a good job on him. So we do have the bodies and the personnel that can really affect him on the offensive end. So hopefully moving forward we can do that, contain him for a lack of better terms. But I just don't see it being this, contained. You know what I mean? Trey Murphy was huge for them in this one, man. His three-point shooting played a major role for them all night and will continue to do so throughout this series. His range is unbelievable, and it will be a huge problem for us if our rotations or our closeouts continue to be late, because he was just able to fire them up all night. Where we at? He had 10 points in the third quarter. He's a very, very versatile player. He was rebounding the ball, getting assists, playing defense very solidly. 15 points on 5 splashes. He had a handful of hustle plays, like a putback off of a miss late in the third quarter, saving the ball before a backcourt violation. He got a block on Shea in the mid-range on a step back at that. He played 44 minutes in this game, the most of any player, and was a key factor to the Pelicans on either end of the ball. 21 points total, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks on 8 of 18 shooting. He was 5 of 12, I want to say, from deep. So a lot of a high volume 3-point shooting game for him. We can't allow him to keep getting that many shots though, because eventually those are going to fall. 5 is like, that's too many already. So we get him to 7, 8. That's 18, 21 points. We can't afford that. We cannot afford. That's 21, 24 points. We can't afford all of that scoring just from Trey Murphy. Of course, we want someone else to beat us outside of Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, especially if we're doing our job containing them how we did. But allowing them to get hot from 3, that's just a recipe for disaster. Valanciunas, like I mentioned earlier, was absolutely destroying Chet on the board, especially on the offensive glass. He had 9 of them for the game, 20 total rebounds. He was just relentless all night on the glass. I'm not sure how many points he came away with, but had a really, really solid game nonetheless. I want to say it was like 13 points. Whenever he could, bullying Chet in the post. Not really bullying, but, just easy baskets, essentially. And then CJ was setting the tone for the team offensively, being the most, seasoned player, like I mentioned earlier, in the playoffs of this entire group. Not being reluctant to take shots and, forcing the Thunder to rotate by throwing skip passes and really making them think on defense, finding players on backdoor cuts and things. He wasn't a consistent scoring merchant in this one, like I mentioned earlier. Just through 3 quarters, he had 11 points on 5 of 13 from the field, only 1 made 3. But when that fourth quarter came, he scored a decent bunch of points, 9 points for the quarter. But it was just too little, too late for him once he finally caught rhythm. I don't know if you really can call it that. If he shot 9 of 22 from the field, 2 of 9 from downtown, there was no real rhythm to his game. But he was able to, catch a little bit of a spurt of scoring. And then Herb Jones is how we'll close out the video. He's getting a little lengthy, and I do gotta get ready for work, of course. Herb Jones is doing his duty and being the point of attack defender, taking on the SGA matchup. And he did a hell of a job containing him for the majority of this game, man, forcing him into contested jumpers, making it hard for him to get downhill in general. He did hit a big-time 3 late in the fourth quarter, tied the game 88-88 with just under 4 minutes of play, but that was only his second made field goal for the game. He had an awful shooting night, 20% for the game, 2 of 10 from the field, 2 of 8 from deep. But his defense, just like Lou Dort, that's really what they're laying their hat on with Herb Jones being out there. Is his defensive ability guarding the best player on the other team. Same with Lou Dort for us guarding Brandon Ingram. So hella basketball was watched yesterday and the day before. Hella more basketball. Just 2 days in. This is just 2 days in. We already having great basketball. We have some terrible basketball as well that was being played the past couple of days. That have from the Mavericks. That have from the Pacers. And then the Heat also had. They had a little bit of a terrible game too, but that's neither here nor there. Let me go ahead and get ready for work. I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. On the road to 500, man. We're gonna keep on grinding. These videos is coming every day. Every day y'all gonna have a video. If not every day, every other day, whatever. Whenever I can, I'm gonna make sure I sit down in this chair in front of this camera and come talk to y'all about playoff basketball, because what do? We enjoy ball around here. You already know what the deal is. Subscribe, hit the like button. Reese the Sideliner as always. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.